October 26th road committee meeting to order. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing on the agenda is to welcome Adam. Adam, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Just officially became a resident in July. I've had a house up here for 6 years. I've done a lot of work, plowing, maintaining roads. Looking forward to the challenge. So, it's a great town, great people, everybody I've met. So, it's a little change of pace for me, but I'm figuring it out slowly.
All right. And second thing is we have two Article 43 applications. I sent everyone copies of that. Did everyone get them and review them?
I got the Hawk one. I didn't see the other one.
You didn't see the Hawk Road?
I saw the Hawk one. That was for the repair of the ramp and, double check my email. Here's a culvert. I just got that one.
Here, you can take a quick peek at the copies.
Yep.
So let's start with Hawk Road. I went through this, and if you actually look at Amanda Pratt's letter, Amanda Pratt is from DEP, so she actually went through and verified a number of things in her letter that the town requires, like, is it in the watershed? She confirms that Wilson Lake is a DEP non-point source priority watershed, and the area in question is within the lake's watershed. The watershed survey was completed in 2009 using DEP protocols with support of the DEP staff. 319 grants were carried out, and she goes on to describe the work as repairing the right-of-way. I did go down and look at that. I met with Al just to take a quick peek to see what they were doing. And they are looking for $1,744. The Road Association paperwork appears to be in order. They have the call to meeting, they have the notice of their meeting, they have the bylaws, they have minutes. These are all things that the town wants. And we also have a copy of an estimate from Jeff Goodwin in the amount, again, of $1744. So, does anyone have any questions, comments regarding this application?
What did they do again down there on Hawk Road? What was the work that was done?
The work has not been done.
What are they gonna be doing?
But they're going to, there's a double culvert going under the road that they're going to replace. They're also going to dig out the right away, which goes directly into a boat launch. There's a private boat launch right there. And over time, it has eroded so bad that there's a railroad tie popping up that Al said was never there. So that is all gonna be, they're gonna put more material down and re-crown to make it go to the sides of the right of way. Anyone else?
Could you move the microphone closer, please?
You can't hear me?
Thank you.
Is that better? Okay. All right. So, any other discussion? I guess I'm looking for a motion then at this point.
I'll make a motion to approve and send it to the selectmen.
The amount of-
I'll second that, Leslie.
Is there any other discussion before we vote? All in favor? All opposed? So this, on Wednesday, I'm going to let you know that we're recommending that they fund this for $1,744.
Give that back to you.
The next one is Lakeside Drive. Amanda also did the same thing with Lakeside Drive as far as verifying that it's in the watershed, that they have a survey. The watershed survey was completed in 2010. Additionally, 319 grants were carried out in this area. The site in question is a shallow ditch that is drained mostly by a buried culvert that outlets above a crumbling retaining wall along the shoreline at 870 Lakeside Drive. The ditch is undersized and the dry well at the culvert outlet is not functional, which leads to significant amounts of polluted stormwater reaching Great East Lake. It is also causing erosion around the retaining wall. Recommendations for roadwork include deepening the ditch, lining it with pre-seeded straw erosion control blanketing, and installing check dams approximately every 20 to 30 foot to help slow and infiltrate stormwater. This should reduce the amount of stormwater reaching the culvert that outlets the private property, but will require regular maintenance to remain effective over time. A catch basin may be also effective here, but requires specialized equipment for maintenance and would need to be designed by a road engineer. She also encourages the landowner at 870 Lakeside Drive to make improvements to the culvert, which, in my conversation with the association, they were planning to do.
So that's right at the bottom of the paved area.
Nope.
Further down?
It's further down yet. It's past Foley.
Okay.
Yeah, because I went down and looked at it.
That's what I was trying to figure out, was just looked on the map and that showed where it was roughly, but, you know,
Yeah.
it's messed up down there.
It's just past Foley. It's on the back side of the lake.
Okay.
And they're gonna deepen the ditch and, to help alleviate.
Yep.
The homeowner is, planning to, I believe is planning to replace that culvert.
Yep.
Joe took me down to the lake where it comes out, and you can see that there's some problems with
Some issues there.
runoff coming down.
Yep.
So, we have an estimate from Jeff Goodwin in the amount of $4,220. Detailing what they're going to do. I also looked at all of the paperwork for the Road Association. We have the call of meeting, we have the bylaws, and I believe we have the minutes also. Yes, we have the minutes. So, they are looking for $3,000 because that is our max at this point. Is there any discussion, any questions regarding this?
Nope.
Entertain a motion then?
We'll make a motion to accept Article 43 application from Lakeside Drive
In the amount of $3,000?
in the amount of $3,000, yes.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So, I'll also let them know about that. Okay, next we have the RFP for stream crossings. Well, you're gonna love this. This is for West Shore Drive. I am probably about 98% finished.
Is that the email you sent me today?
That's, well, this afternoon, yeah, I spoke with the Army Corps of Engineers this afternoon. And one of the things that we did not have in our last application is we did not contact the Army Corps of Engineers, nor did we contact the Fish and Wildlife. I spoke with Army Corps of Engineers today, and he sent that. I also emailed him a copy of the sketch plan
We got last time,
that
right?
we got the last time, yeah. Because I used some of the stuff that, in our last application.
That's all engineered anyway.
Well, it's not an engineering, it's not engineered, it's just,
No.
yeah. So, Colin at Army Corps of Engineers is going to look at that sketch plan and see if he can make any recommendations to help us improve our score on that part. And he wanted to make sure that, you know, nothing was missed. He, I also asked the fire chief for a letter stating what the impacts would be should that culvert fail to residents on the other side of the culvert. Colin had told me also that to wait to apply for a permit. He did send the copies of permits he thought we would need. And well, I mean, because I sent the email to everyone, you have his contact information, so he was very, very helpful. He also taught part of the class that I took for stream crossings, so I was familiar with him. He said part of the problem that we may encounter with getting some money from the state is that there's not a big environmental lift with this, because it's not going to really improve the fish passage. So that may be one of the factors for that. And he said that we need to make sure that we put down that the failure of the culvert will affect recreation purposes along with public safety, which we concentrated on the public safety
That's right.
aspect of it. So that may be, you know, another thing to increase our score. And our score wasn't much below the score of the towns that received this money. So if we can bump it up a couple of points, hopefully we'll get it. There's a couple of things, a couple of questions I had, Will. Has that road ever flooded?
I don't think so. I wouldn't.
Dave? Do you know that if West Shore, the culvert at West Shore has ever flooded? culvert at West Shore, has that ever flooded? No. No? Okay. And what have we, do you know if we've spent any money on repairs on that? Not regular maintenance, but repair?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
This morning put not repairs to the bridge itself, but had new guardrails installed at least once before the current ones are, the ones that are there now. And the overgrown brush, I think it's actually some grapevines that are in the, I always mispronounce this word, idiot, the sacks that the stones are in, which is how that is done. David, those called Gideon, those the sacks of stones are in,
I'm not sure what they call them.
but, you know,
Talking about
the wire,
chain link stone.
the wire cages and all that.
I'm not sure what they're called.
You're close, I mean, because I can't think of,
They pulled the plants and the, you know, roots that were holding those, and they pulled them all out because they were getting so high when you were driving around the curve. You know, they were blocking vision.
would you consider that maintenance or repair?
Maintenance. And that goes back to as far back as Burton King and then this room.
But I have this, almost finished. I mean, I've even gone so far as to start writing the cover letter for it. And I'll be talking to the selectmen about this, on Wednesday also. The deadline for submitting this is November 16th. So I have a call placed to Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, so hopefully I'm gonna hear from them this week and be able to check that off the list also. Any questions?
No, if you need anything with me, or go meet with somebody, just let me know. I'll go down there and meet with somebody, or if you have any questions, just call me.
Colin said he'd be happy to help us in any way that he can. And you're gonna have to get permits from them anyway,
Yeah. I'll
so,
look at it more when I get home on my laptop, and if I have any questions, I can call him, right?
oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I mean, once I hear from him about the sketch plan, I don't think that we're gonna really need him until we know whether we got the grant or not, and know whether, if that was gonna be a project we're gonna tackle it.
Yeah.
When they were asking for a estimate, a planned estimate for when we were gonna do the work. If you want me to change this, I would. I put down July of 2022 through September of 2022. And those months are because of the restrictions the Army Corps of Engineers put on when we can do construction in the water.
Okay. Because it'd have to be in the summertime anyway, because you'd have to go through warrant finance and all that stuff and town meeting to even do it, to get our money for our half.
We never, I mean, it only takes about 45 days, he said, to get permits from them.
Yeah.
But, you're still looking at time. The grant itself, they bumped it up from 95,000 to 125.
Oh, that's good.
We're
So
looking
it was
at-
95 last time, right?
It was 95 last time.
We had to match the 95?
You wouldn't pay for 100%. It wasn't like a 50-50 match. There's no matching percentage requirement. It's just that they will not fund 100% of any project.
We just cross our fingers and hope for this time.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Canal Bridge. Does everyone watch the selectmen meeting, the two presentations that Wakefield did?
I did not, but I did get this.
You did the copy?
Yep. I looked this over.
Danny, did you have,
Yeah, I looked it over on the email.
Will, did you?
I was at both meetings, so I've heard both of them.
Yes, I read it.
So, I'm looking for everyone's thoughts.
We know the bridge needs to be done, but
I think the price is fairly cheap, and I kinda think we should roll with it myself. You're not gonna get a better price.
they say they can have it done in 2 weeks.
That's what they say, because they're going over it. It's gonna set it down.
I think more of what we talked to, well, the selectmen and the other selectmen in Lakewood was, be more of a springtime thing, you know? Because their calendar year, I don't think it's the same calendar year as ours, so we'd have to go to town meeting from what I've got from it and get our money and stuff, because, you know,
They've already got the money, they've already got
yeah, they've
the
been putting away for it, and I guess they said they could buy the bridge. I mean, hey, I'd buy the bridge, and if they can store it like they said, store it, and we'll do it in the spring, you know, then we have all,
That's some time to do the,
like, you know, get the paperwork done, get the money we need, and, you know, when the road commissioner get his plan for the springtime, and go in there and do our entrance and approach, and,
Who's, is that Adam's side?
Adam's.
That's mine in the summer.
Alright.
Yep.
Now, we know that we need to do something. This bridge is rated 23 on the federal sufficiency rate.
they said they're closing in the springtime regardless, so.
We also know that, we can't touch that bridge because it's on the historical register. So, and knowing those two things, I looked through here, I mean, a lot of that, the paperwork that the gentleman from Wakefield sent was, a lot of it was,
references and stuff like that.
References and stuff, the guy, all the project the guy's done, and,
There's quite a few of these done, I mean,
yeah, it's a composite type style bridge.
yeah.
David, what's your thoughts?
I think it makes a lot of sense. It's got to be done. This looks like a good price, and as long as Wakefield is in agreement.
I mean, they've done all the legwork,
Right.
which is good. And then looking at the engineering report that we got from Road Bridge, this is peanuts compared to that.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we'd be stupid not to do it.
Well, we know it needs to be done. I mean, that bridge is old and tender.
Well, the selectmen from Wakefield last week said they bought the bridge now, they can store it for us. You know, and materials are still going up, so the only thing you'd have to really compensate for in the spring is your material and, well, your labor rates and machine rates gonna be, you know, whatever it's gonna cost to do the approach. You know, I'd go ahead, I'd do it. And do it in the springtime and get it over with. When are you gonna get out of it any cheaper?
I agree with Will.
All right, so, what shall we tell the selectmen? So, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve
I recommend.
the recommendation from M.A. Bean and, you know, continue to move forward on it.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And Opposed? The next thing, snow and ice class, I put on the agenda just because I'd like to keep that in the forefront. Will, have you been to a snow and ice class?
No, I haven't been to one, but I had some classes, by like the beginning of the month and like local road classes, they touched on it. I mean, it wasn't the stone ice management course, but they touched on it pretty good when I was in the class, so, well, the virtual one.
When you get notice of those, will you send them to us?
Yeah.
Send them to everyone, I mean, especially virtual ones, because I would have done that also.
I think it was like a last minute thing I got signed up for, so.
Yeah.
But then they touched on it pretty heavily, so.
I know, but you know, you've done this before, but.
Yeah, I had classes from the state of Mass DOT. Every year, all the spreaders had to go in and discuss. There were certain areas we weren't allowed to put a lot of salt down. You know, we did a 50-50 mix. We pretty much ran 100% salt for us. But we had a certain amount per lane mile down we needed to do. They're real strict about it, and they check our computers every time to make sure, to match up the amount of buckets we were getting and everything, so.
Every truck
Had a computer in it. They would track how many tons we'd put down, how many pounds.
Really good idea.
We averaged 240 pounds per lane mile on the highways and everything. We were also putting magnesium down too, so 8 gallons per 2,000 pounds. So it's a little different, but you know, it worked good for us. Once we got those computers in, it made a big difference for us. Because we were way more efficient. Save the state over $1 million the first year.
Do you think there would be something that we should be looking at as you know, or the road commissioner should be looking at for their own equipment?
They're expensive.
Are they?
They're very expensive. It's anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 for a computer to put in a truck. And the state compensated us with an hourly rate, higher hourly rate by putting them in. So, you know, it was, all right, we gotta do it. If we're gonna do it, they're gonna help us out, pay for them. But it's something you gotta have calibrated every year. And, you know, there's a lot of maintenance to it too. And most of the newer trucks, I don't know about Will's trucks, but a lot of them have, if you buy a used truck nowadays, they're pretty much computerized anyways. You know, a lot of them are.
So hopefully we can get a snow and ice class at some point.
They said to, contact the guy, they only have one guy doing it right now.
His name is Paul Brown.
Okay.
He took Phil Curtis's place, as the road ranger.
They said to call him up and get him if you want him. I guess it's filling up pretty fast, so.
So, shall we ask for that?
Well, can we meet like something like that? I know you guys put the restriction on meeting in the town hall. Is that classified as using the town hall?
I believe if it's for town purpose, I believe they'll allow it. But when we bring it up on Wednesday night,
Okay, yeah, that's where I was going, Dave, because, I mean, we can ask for it, and if it can be set up, great. If not, well,
yeah, I can't imagine it being any different than what we're doing right here, right now.
yeah, okay.
I can't imagine it being any more people. So, while you're on the subject, do you have a petition on your agenda?
Which petition? Do you mean, Mr. Donahue's petition?
This is kind of relevant to what you guys are talking about.
Absolutely, I agree, yeah.
So, I guess it's fine. So, there's been a petition passed into the town of Acton, trying to limit the amount of salt being used in the town of Acton. And, it's, regulating that you use, 15 to 20%. No more, no straight salt, So, I was hoping you guys would have that on your agenda tonight so you can kind of.
We can certainly add that, Dave, and talk about it. I think that's probably.
Excuse me?
We can certainly talk about it. I think that's a good idea.
Well, because you
Right.
guys were talking about something we'd always been talking about eventually going to is salt priority, computers and all that. But I'd hate to see you guys waste your time on that when we have a petition coming through to get rid of using salt.
Salt, yeah.
So it's kind of going, backwards from what we're trying to accomplish, so I think it's something you guys might want to have a discussion on. And, you know, I would have thought that, I thought we were going to forward that over to you guys, the petition itself.
Yeah, you know, I've seen like pieces of it, I haven't seen the whole petition.
Yeah, okay, so I'll have our town administrator send that to you guys. And, because it's obviously something there that we voted on to have put forward to the next open town meeting when we have one. So, it may be something where if you guys are gonna have a class, it would be something that we want to make sure we videotape and we put out to the public so that the public is aware of exactly what we should be doing. Okay, so, and I probably shouldn't say anymore.
I mean, because my little pieces of information, you know, what I've seen, I don't see it as being workable. I don't know if anyone else wants to offer any thoughts?
With the reduction of salt is gonna be, the roads are gonna be treacherous. I mean, we might as well just stay home. It's gonna be a lot more work for Will and I to maintain them, because if it's just straight sand, you're gonna be fighting it, especially on icy storms and,
The state also does not, wants everyone to move away from sand, because sand is actually more detrimental to
Yep.
the lakes than salt is. So, well,
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to it, I mean, it's the same thing, I mean, you get a storm that freezes rain, sleet, you need to mix our, you know, our sand, even though when we put our sand in, we're mixing salt with it, you know, I have the sheet at home I did the other day, what we're gonna, like, say we put up 3,000 yards, I forget the number, what it is, and we try to mix it, you know, like the state has a chart where you mix it, and we try to keep, I'm gonna do it this year, because me and Adam put the sand up, and, but, you know, you need that extra salt sometimes, you know, you get freezing rain, sleet, we had a lot of it last year, we had a good amount of ice last year, and you need that little bit extra salt, and we restrict it in those spots, you know, then we're out there just dumping sand, and where's it all
wasting
going?
material.
You know, we're just dumping sand out for no reason, you know, it's,
then you need to plow at
we
the
need to,
end of the
what
season.
we need to do, I think what we need to do, we need to bring the individual in, and we need to have a roundtable discussion with them, and explain, you know, what's gonna happen, you know, this is the possibilities of what's gonna happen, this could be it, and talk to them about it. I don't know if we could do that, you know, it's what we need to do, but.
Well, I've also seen forecasts for this winter that it's supposed to be milder than normal, which would mean we have ice instead of snow. So, I know my road is treacherous.
Yeah, I know.
So,
But I mean, but you look at the other thing too, like we said, you know, if we just keep it at 20%, who's gonna enforce it? Is the selectmen gonna sit down there every snowstorm and tell us, when we're putting sand up or loading up, hey, look, there's a little bit extra salt on there, you can't go with that. I mean, how are you gonna enforce it at the end of the day?
it's not just enforcement, but what's the penalty? There's no penalty either.
You know, and that's the $1 million question, if you ask me, how are you gonna enforce it, you know? You know, I think we need to sit down with the individual and tell them, hey, you know, I understand what you wanna do, but this is A, B, and C, and, you know, they said the other day at the class, the state doesn't want you seeing putting sand on the roads anymore, they want you switching over just to what Adam said, computers and, you know, the
Regulate the
brine.
amount you put down, and, you know, it's effective when you're putting it down properly.
You know, that's what they said, you know, they have a lot more towns that are switching over to that, they're getting rid of sand. But, you know, but a lot of the towns, they said they're switching over to it, they may have a highway department, you know, it's not individuals like us, you know, private contractors that are doing it unless they have to do it, you know? Something to think about.
Anyone else? You wanna hold, once we have the full petition, we can readdress this. but it's sounding to me like not many of us are, you know, supporting this.
No, that's why I feel like if we do have it, like the selectmen have said, you know, we're gonna have a town meeting on it, it needs to be a public town meeting, so we can explain to the people, hey, if we do this, your roads ain't gonna be like they are now. You know, when they go to work, people have an expectation of what they want the roads, and it's been like that, you know? I mean, when they go home, plow them and do it the best you can, but people don't wanna have icy roads, and we need to have a meeting so we can explain to people, hey, this is how.
I wouldn't be able to leave my house all winter.
I know.
I'd be not able to get up.
I'd like to see Milton Mills Road with no salt.
Oh, it looked like Newfield, right? But Newfield doesn't use that much salt. Their road's pretty rough.
That's all you hear about in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Are they as hilly as we are?
No, they got hills. I don't know if it's as bad as like Milton Mills Road and stuff, but they do have hills.
You got hills on the worst, and you got a bunch of Shady Brook Road.
Oh yeah, it gets rough up there.
But they're using more salt than they ever have. They're starting to push a little bit more, because, after a while, after you start going from Shapley and Acton and Newfield, it doesn't look good. What ends up happening at the end of the day is you end up spending way more money trying to get the roads to where they need to be than properly putting down salt. I've been plowing for the city of Sanford, my contract the last 2 years, and I have not put a stitch of sand in my truck, and I use a third of the material that I used to use in Acton doing the same amount of roads.
Absolutely.
I got 26 miles in Sanford, and I have 26 miles in Acton. But if they're put down properly, they're long ways. And I don't have a computer. My trucks are set up for them, but they're running manuals, because the computers are a nightmare. But if you figure on your mileage, your poundage, your lane mileage and everything, you could pretty much mathematically figure out how far you should go on your load. And I think what we need to do is we need to have Mr. what's his name, Brown? Paul Brown, come here, during the selectmen's meeting at some point and give a good explanation of why we don't want to go backwards.
That would be a good thing. All right. So, the selectmen will have it sent to us, and we'll be able to review the whole thing, so we have all of the information, and then we can readdress it at that point. And same with RSMS updating, I'm not sure what's happening with that.
I know, I asked at the selectmen's meeting, and Jennifer told me that they're working on it, and they touched on that in the class, and I don't know, somebody retired that ran it all the time, and now they're looking to hire somebody else, but they said just bear with them, so.
This is the same gentleman. Paul Brown took over for Phil Curtis, who did that. And Phil Curtis is the one that came out and helped us do the road surveys.
They told
He
me,
taught us how to do them, but then he retired right after.
they told me,
He's the one who taught you how to do the road survey, go and look at the roads, but the gentleman that was doing the RSMS now works at Allstate. We contacted the state and they can't get any response out of it.
that's what they told me. They told me just to keep writing stuff down, and when they can help us, we'll put the stuff in, so that's what I've been doing.
All right. Does anyone else have anything else they want to talk about? I'll open it up to public comment.
On the Canal Bridge repair, what's the time span that road's gonna be closed?
2 weeks, what they told us anyway.
So has anybody spoken with Wakefield? There's quite a bit of traffic of people that have camps during that time of the year, and that road's gonna be closed to them, right?
Well, the bridge will be, but I mean,
You can still loop around to 109.
I'm just going around.
2 weeks is pretty quick turnaround for a bridge.
As opposed to having that bridge closed because it's unsafe.
Right.
So-
I just wondered on the amount of time that it was And that will be in July, that's gonna be happening.
They don't have a date.
No.
Whatever we can approve our end, they already got their end approved.
A couple of things I wanted to bring up. I know you're working hard on the West Shore Drive thing, and, you know, put my oar in the water. I live on West Shore. So, if you see it now, the lake is probably down about 4 feet. It's a mess. And while I feel for the fish, because I do fish, and I'm glad of that, if that bridge goes, and our old fire chief said that it probably wasn't gonna be that safe for his equipment that much longer. Well, it's almost like they hold fish. If I need an ambulance or a fire truck, I'm concerned with public safety. You know, I can't tell you how many people are there in the summertime. I can tell you it's a lot. But there are close to about 80 or 90 people who are year-round residents there. And it is really still the only way in and out. I know there's an old logging road that comes off the H Road. I think from one of Pepin's pits, but I can't see the fire trucks coming in that way, really. So, you know, I really push on the work. If we don't get a grant, I think we really have to think of doing something with, and Will has an idea that I think, man, if that's what we have to do, we have to do.
Well, there is a plan, I mean,
Yeah, I know
tomorrow-
the idea.
if it fell in tomorrow, we're just gonna fill it in,
Yeah.
what did it come down to?
Then we open ourselves up to problems with the,
Yeah, but it's public safety at the end of the day, I mean, if you go to the fire department, there's supposed to be a thing, a plan in there. A, B, and C, and D, we talked about this 2 years ago.
Right, I mean, of course it's not a great plan, but it's public
yeah,
safety.
the environmental agencies may not quite,
Oh, they have to see fits, you know. The other thing on the salt and sand, been a lot of talk with the Spinney Square Pond Association not wanting the salt coming in to the lake. Well, I can tell you, I didn't like my son-in-law's car coming into my house last winter. You know where I live, you're just coming up that
Yeah.
last big hill down to the end of the road. And he came down, he was able to turn into the driveway, and the car just didn't stop. And it wasn't necessarily just my driveway, it was the ice is that bad there all the time. And I do understand that there are people who have, you know, their camps have been there forever. So their wells aren't, you know, up close to the road. We don't have the salt on the road, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And just one other thing I wanted to bring up. I have a dear friend who, well, Massachusetts lady who lives in Wakefield. She called me the other day, she said, oh, I hear you guys are going along with us on the Canal Bridge. Charlie Evans came back and said, Acton's gonna do it with us. So just be aware that some people are thinking,
I watched the selectmen meeting, and the selectmen were very clear
Yeah.
that they could not say, go ahead and do it.
not what our selectmen said. The selectmen
No, I
were
understand that, so if they misinterpreted, I don't see how they could have, because the selectmen were very clear that they were not saying, go ahead.
Right, we have that, but this is what was said on the other side. Because there are all kinds of things we still don't. I mean, how permits, what are they gonna take? 2 states, 2 towns? Would you need 2 counties on permits too? 2 counties to be involved?
For the DP, and
For, for canal.
yeah, you'd have to have NES, mentioned environmental services, and you have to have DEP from the state of Maine.
Right,
That's
so,
why I explained last week, from Mr. Edwards, that we have a process. This isn't something you're gonna rush before winter, that you have permitted. We have town meeting, we have finance committees, we have
Absolutely.
those committees. And, this is something that, and you just don't start something in November, because that's really dumb. So,
And you guys were very clear about that. There was no mistaking that you'd be like, you know, hold off.
I told him that if you guys go ahead and do it, that's on you. Because he said, well, I can't imagine anybody saying no, but weird things have happened, and that would be on them if they jumped the gun on it. But we did tell them that we liked the idea that, you know, we're on board as long as we can go through our process.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was a little surprised when the spending one told me that, oh, you guys are doing this, and I'm like, whoa, you know, that seems contrary to what our selectmen say. So just so you know.
Anyone else?
Nope, I'm set.
Do we have a motion to adjourn then, if not anything else?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, Caitlin.